Ravi was a man who had seen many cities, walked down busy streets, and heard thousands of stories. But nothing quite prepared him for the quiet lesson he was about to learn one summer afternoon. He was on a brief vacation, hoping to disconnect from a noise of deadlines and regrets. After years of chasing goals and being constantly pulled by the stress of life, he had come to a small riverside town to breathe. A town with no tall buildings, no clamor of cars, just a sound of rustling leaves and the distant laughter of children. On the second day, as he strolled aimlessly through the village outskirts, he noticed a circus camp preparing for a performance later that evening. Bright tents stood proud against the sky, and the aroma of popcorn lingered in the air. But what caught his eye wasn't the colorful posters or the sound of a juggler rehearsing. It was a row of enormous elephants standing calmly in the open field. They weren't in cages. They weren't chained. Each one had a thin rope tied around one of its front legs, the other end loosely knotted to a small wooden peg stuck in the dusty ground. Ravi stopped in his tracks. He blinked. The elephants were magnificent. Huge, muscular, powerful beings. One gentle tug from those legs, and the peg would rip out of the earth like it was nothing. The rope wouldn't stand a chance. And yet, none of them even tried to move. They stood quietly, occasionally flapping their ears or swatting away a fly with their tails, content in their invisible prison. He walked closer, curiosity growing heavier in his chest. How is this possible, he thought. A few moments later, he spotted a man nearby, probably the trainer, an older fellow, dressed in worn clothes with a sun-hardened face and hands that spoke of decades of work. Ravi approached him. "Sir," Ravi asked politely, "I hope I'm not disturbing you, but may I ask you something?" The trainer looked up with a small smile and nodded. "Of course." Ravi gestured toward the elephants. They're incredible, but why are they tied with such a small rope? They could break free in an instant if they wanted to." The trainer chuckled softly, as though he'd heard the question 1,000 times before. "Ah," he said, "that's the thing. They don't want to, or rather, they don't believe they can." Ravi frowned, not understanding. "You see," the trainer continued, "when these elephants were babies, just a few months old, we used the same type of rope to tie them. At that age, it was strong enough to hold them. They'd struggle for days, try to break free, cry, pull, but they couldn't escape. They were too small, too weak. And over time, they gave up. They accepted that the rope held power over them." Ravi listened intently. "And now," the man said, "they're grown, strong enough to crush that peg like it's a twig. But they don't even try anymore, because in their minds, the rope still controls them." Ravi stood still for a long time, the trainer's words echoing inside his head. The elephants weren't tied by force. They were tied by memory, tied by a belief they had accepted long ago. He turned his eyes back to the animals. What seemed like a peaceful, obedient scene now felt quietly tragic. They were captives not of chains, but of doubt. Powerful beings, living within invisible walls built by failure and fear. And then something shifted inside Ravi, because he realized he wasn't so different from the elephants. He thought about the dreams he had as a child, the drawings he once made, the stories he once wrote. He remembered how excited he had been to become a writer, a creator, someone who could move hearts with words. But one day, a teacher told him his story was too unrealistic. A friend laughed at his poem. A publisher never responded. One rejection, then 2, then 10, and somewhere along the way, he stopped trying. He stopped writing. He told himself it wasn't practical, that he wasn't talented enough, that his time had passed. But the truth was, a rope had been tied around his spirit, and over time, he accepted it as unbreakable. Ravi swallowed hard, feeling a strange mix of sadness and awakening rise in his chest. How many of us are tied to old memories, old failures, and silent voices that once told us you're not good enough? How many dreams have we locked away because of a single early failure? How many times have we said, "I can't"? Not because it's true, but because we once believed it was. The trainer patted Ravi on the shoulder. "Most people are like that," he said gently. "They carry invisible ropes, and they don't even realize they've grown stronger than their fears." Ravi nodded slowly, eyes still on elephants. But what if one day, the trainer added with a twinkle in his eye, one elephant tugs, just once, just a small pull, and the rope snaps? What happens then? Ravi asked softly. Well, the man smiled. The whole circus changes. That night, Ravi sat by the river with a notebook in hand, the same kind he used to carry in his school bag years ago. He flipped to the first page. It was blank, and for the first time in a long time, the blank page didn't scare him. He picked up his pen and wrote, just a few words, but they were his. And the rope, it began to loosen.